Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Spira, and today I have created a video for you with 5 ways to regulate your nervous system. So stay tuned and I'll go over all of that with you. Okay, so first of all, why do you need to regulate your nervous system? Well, so many reasons. And the first thing is chronic stress and tension and trauma, especially, although trauma works much faster than chronic stress or tension, actually creates an imbalance in the nervous system, right? So what happens is you have 2 branches of the autonomic nervous system. Actually, there's 3, but we're only going to talk about the 2 because the other one is related to the other 2. We have the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system is the one that is more active and helps you to do all the things that you do when you're active. You know, it's called the fight or flight part of the nervous system. So for example, let's just say you are in a situation that's very stressful for whatever reason, or even threatening. When the sympathetic nervous system kicks in, it gets you ready for action. It actually shuts down some of the body's processes and turns on others. So if I needed to run from a lion, I could do that really easily. Now, fortunately for me, I don't come across many lions. But what happens is, if we have a lot of stressful situations, not like being chased by a lion, but when we have a lot of situations that cause that kind of stress or that level of stress, one of the things that can happen is that we kind of get stuck in that place, you know, in the sympathetic nervous system. So what's needed is the parasympathetic nervous system to balance it all out. So the parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite. It's the rest and digest part of the brain. And that's the part where your body does all of its natural healing. Digestion, I mentioned, can kick in, and you can, you know, do any physical repairs, but also it slows down or stops like the production of cortisol, for example. As you know, cortisol is the stress hormone. So if we're always in our sympathetic nervous system and we're not balancing it out, you're going to be too stressed, and that chronic stress can actually turn into trauma over a period of time. But even if it doesn't, just the chronic stress itself is enough to really mess with your body. It's enough to mess with the systems of the body. So one of the things that we want to do is to reset or to regulate the nervous system. And when you bring the body into balance, I feel like the phrase being in balance, coming into balance, I feel like it's become almost a cliche and people aren't really sure of what it means, but it really does mean something. And what it does mean is when we're in balance, balance is homeostasis. And I don't know if you remember I remember this from middle school biology class, and mainly because I like that class a lot. I like my science classes, so that's why I love doing this now. But homeostasis is the place where we want to be. It's the place of peace. It's the place in your body where everything is in a state of calm, and all of the different systems of the body can just work smoothly, if that makes any sense, okay? So we are in our parasympathetic nervous system when we sleep, but when we're awake, it doesn't do us any good if once we wake up we get into that stress mode again. So one of the ways to keep all of that in check is to do these activities not just once in a while. Here's the kicker: you have to do them every day and not once a day. You have to do them multiple times a day. So all of the things that I'm going to go over with you, actually I will make more than one video because there are actually way more than 5. So if you stick with me, you will get lots of different ways to do this, but this is the trick for me and what I have learned personally, because I have to do this. So if you choose the activities that you like and you do them every day, multiple times a day, what happens is, if you're the kind of person that's constantly up here, and when I say up here, this is just a visual to use to mean that you're activated and you're in constant stress and your body's producing cortisol. And the other thing we forget to mention is your brain doesn't work. It works and it doesn't. When you're in stress, your prefrontal cortex becomes compromised. So it doesn't just stop working, but what it does do is not function like it should. And in some cases of extreme stress, yes, it can definitely even shut down. And we go into the what we call the reptilian brain, right? And we just start acting on emotion. And so if you find yourself in a place where you're super edgy all the time, you're like, oh, I'm just really stressed out. Well, there's a reason why you're acting that way. It's not just the stress, it's the high cortisol levels in your body, and it's your prefrontal cortex just not working. And that's the part of the brain that is for decision making and logic and all of that. So that's why people who are under a lot of stress do make really bad decisions, and occasionally really bad decisions that can affect them and others around them in very negative ways. And I know we hear a lot about this recently with I hate to bring it up because I don't want to sound biased, but police violence. They're not bad people, but they're freaking out, like they're not reacting properly because they're stressed out all the time, And then let's look at the other hand, people who maybe do cause crime, people who become criminals. Sometimes those decisions are made again because they're victims of trauma for the most part. And I don't want to go off on a tangent, but just as an aside, if you look at the statistics of how many people in jail, we'll just say incarcerated people, how many of them are victims of trauma, it's a huge percentage. So if that is not proof that trauma makes us make bad decisions, I don't know what is. That's not really the proof, but that's just an example of the result, Anyway. So we want to do these exercises multiple times a day, and a lot of them can be done for 60 seconds even. You can try. I personally think 2 minutes is good. 2 minutes is good. And in some of these, there are a couple of these are yoga poses, and in those, maybe 5 minutes. So choose the ones you like, try them out. If you do these multiple times a day, I can promise you with all the confidence in the world and a bit of neuroscience backing me up that you will stay calmer for longer, and hopefully you'll find a new baseline and a way to remain in homeostasis. And when you are in homeostasis, it's a beautiful place to be. You're kinder, you're more empathetic with people, you can be more caring because your mind is balanced and your body starts to get balanced too, hormonally and chemically. So all of this plays a role, and we use the term, especially in yoga, we talk about holistic health all the time. It really truly is. That's what yoga is for. Also, yoga is about union. Yoga is to unite the body, the mind, and the spirit. So it's for our health. It's for our mental health, our emotional health, and our physical health. You'll have better relationships with the people around you, better relationships with your pets, and even if your kids are super crazy, you will find yourself being much more patient with them. I hope. Anyway, let's get to it. Number one is legs up the wall pose. So this is a yoga pose that's super duper easy, and you'll see in the demonstration that you don't even need any equipment, you don't need a yoga mat, you don't need any yoga tools whatsoever. You can do this with blankets or whatever. Legs up the wall is really, really easy. All you need is a blanket. That's it. If you want, you can do it in other ways as well, but this is basically the first thing that you need. I'll show you how to use a bolster as well, but let's do it with the blanket first. So basically, you just come up against the wall. Here, I've got this thing in the way. Not a big deal. I can kind of go around it. And basically, I'm just going to sit on my blanket first. And then I will, oh so gracefully, just turn my body around carefully. And as you can see, my legs are indeed up the wall. So there's no big special fancy thing to do at this point. You can lay here and you can have your arms out by your sides. You can have them on your belly, on your chest, wherever you'd like. Have them outstretched, whatever you want. I personally like to keep my hands on my belly. And from here, that you do nothing. Just relax and maybe start to pay attention to your breath. That's one nice thing to do, and you're allowing your body to relax. So just this simple act of having your legs up the wall can help you relax very quickly. This is especially helpful if, for example, if you drive to work and you have a stressful commute. Even if you don't drive, even if it was just a rough day, you come home, do this for maybe 5 minutes. You'll feel so relaxed and so much better. And then to come out, you can either twist back around, or I like to just maybe roll over to one side and come out of it that way. Pretty simple. Now, if you would like, you can just as easily, if you have one of these, not everybody has a bolster, it's totally okay if you don't. If you have one, you can put your hips up on a bolster, and that feels really nice too. Or you could even just use a block and put this underneath your sacrum, which is basically the lower back, okay? It's a sort of a triangular piece at the base of the spine. So that's it. That's legs up the wall. Super easy, right? Number 2 is also a yoga pose, and it's called child's pose. I will demonstrate this pose for you. Again, it's super duper easy, and I'll even show you some modifications with doing that pose, because you know, it can be a challenge for some people if they have knee issues. So I'll show you how to deal with that. So let me show you how to do child's pose. Child's pose is the best. It's so easy and it's so relaxing. So in its purest state, child's pose is simply lowering the body, folding yourself up, come down to the mat. You can place your forehead on the mat. That's actually the part that helps to relax the brain and to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. And you can just come down to the mat, and you can stay like this. You can take the arms in front, or you can lay them by your side. We call this embryo. And just staying here for a few minutes is definitely enough to help calm you and help you feel relaxed. Now, if that is too much, because we all have different bodies, and for some people that may not be super duper relaxing, and I get it, okay? Now, if one of the issues is you can't come all the way to the floor, you can maybe bring a block and rest your head on the block. That will give you more height. Another issue that I've heard is for some people, just sitting back on their knees can stress out the knees. So in that case, you'll take a blanket, you can fold it or roll it up even bigger if you want to. And this actually creates a little bit of space in the front of the knee. And you can put the blanket here and then come down. You can also do a combination, maybe this and the block. I don't know, it's up to you. So I encourage you to play around with it and just see which one works for you. Now, I know not everybody has equipment, I get that. So this is not for you if you don't have a bolster, but if you have a bolster, this is so great. So I have lint all over the place from my new blankets and stuff. If you have a bolster, you can actually just widen the knees a little bit, put the bolster between your knees, and that's it. Or you can bring your arms in front, lower the forehead. Or, I love options. If you take any of my yoga classes, you'll see that I like to give a lot of variations so that everybody feels like they can access a pose. This can go under your forehead so that your nose doesn't get squished. and that's it. Now, if you don't have a bolster, but you would like something like a bolster, you could actually just take a bed pillow, fold it in half lengthwise, and then take that folded pillow and roll it up in a bath towel or a blanket. I like to call it a blanket burrito. So it's like you're making this little burrito, and that can actually have the same effect as bolster. You can even get creative with couch cushions. So I highly recommend making a bolster if you can't buy one. And if you do decide to buy one, find them on sale, because sometimes they can be really expensive. I got this one from Target, and it was only $25. So in most places, they're at least $50 to $80. So I got mine on sale. I think they were discontinuing the color, maybe. I'm not quite sure why they were a lot cheaper, but oftentimes they're just kind of discontinuing. So look for a deal, okay? So that's Child's Pose. Super easy. You got this. Number 3 is making social connections. I know it sounds nonsensical really, but it actually is using a specific part of your brain when you are connecting with other people, and you're creating chemicals in your brain that help you feel good and calm down. And I'm not saying any people, I mean positive social relationships. So I'm sure you've noticed that when you're just hanging out with a friend, maybe you're just eating popcorn and filling each other in on what you've done in the last week or whatever, or maybe you meet up for a walk or whatever it is that you decide to do, but just being with people that you feel safe around and you feel good around, and interacting in positive social relationships is very healing. And so you can use that as an excuse and say, well, I need my medicine today. And you can use your positive social connections to help you keep your nervous system regulated. So call your friend, call your mom if she's cool. If she's a good friend, call your boyfriend, call your girlfriend, call whomever you'd like. But yeah. And you know what else? Call your dog or your cat. Have your cat or dog come over, get into a nice little petting session. That's very calming also. So I'm going to include that with your positive social interactions, because it is a positive social interaction. So what if they're not human, right? Dogs are people too. Number 4, mantra meditation. Mantra meditation is actually an excellent way for people who aren't super comfortable with meditation to learn meditation. And actually for me, it was one of the ways that helped me learn how to do it, because I have horrible monkey mind. Not as bad as it was, but when I was in my 20s, oh my God, my brain was all over the place. So my friend who got me into meditation, he suggested to pick a word or a phrase and repeat that over and over again to give my mind something to focus on instead of allowing it to drift around. Now, it can be very, very simple, and I remember my first time. I remember that my friend and I, we were actually in my closet because I was, in my early 20s, and I had roommates and there were always people home. We actually went and sat in my closet. And I remember the first word that came to me then was just love. Just love. Nothing fancy. I closed my eyes. I sat down. I tried to listen to my breath a little bit. And then I just repeated the word in my head slowly. Love, love, love. And it really helped. It helped me just get into the zone, basically. So this one serves two purposes, So on one hand, it's a really excellent way to calm your nervous system, which is why we're here. But also, if you have a hard time meditating, try mantra meditation. It might help you, and it might just be sort of your gateway into the world of meditation, okay? Number 5. So this one is a little bit weird. But it's related to singing and humming, actually. So I think you remember from the first exercise we said that the vagus nerve is right up here. It starts in here. Actually, it starts in the back, but then it comes around, right? And it goes down, comes all the way down down the spine into the diaphragm area and actually goes all the way down to the pelvic floor. So it's a long nerve. And that's why when we do diaphragmatic breathing, you know, using the stomach in those ways, that stimulates the vagus nerve in that particular area, right? And so there are activities that we do where we stimulate the vagus nerve in the throat area. So just something as an aside. And that is why number 5 is gargling. Now, this is not one of my choices personally because I don't know why. I've never liked gargling. It's just weird to me. And I remember when I was a kid, I was sick. My mom would say, oh, he'd gargle with some baking soda or whatever, you know, when I had like a sore throat. And I don't know. I'm not a fan of the gargle, but some people seem to like it. So that is number 5. And you don't need instructions on gargling. And I'm not going to gargle in front of the camera either, because then I'm just going to laugh and I'm going to get water everywhere. But yeah, number 5 is gargling. So if you found these suggestions helpful, I really want to know which ones you've tried. Please let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't tried any yet, try them, come back, and then comment and let me know what you think. If you found this video helpful, please share it and please subscribe and click the like button and do all those things. And like I've said in my other videos, that is not for me to have a lot of subscribers. That is for me to get the word out, because I really think this stuff is helpful. And like I've said before, I do these things in my own healing. That's why I'm offering it to you. And honestly, I would not be sitting here in front of you with a happy ass face. It's not even a thing, happy ass face, with a happy face and a big smile, if I didn't spend all this time hard at work on healing my own trauma and healing my own brain. That's why I'm sharing it with you, because I know that there are people that don't know this stuff, and I just want to, you know, share the goods. So please share, like, subscribe, clickings, whatevers. Just do it. And come back for more videos. I hope that I can be of service to you. Thank you, and namaste.